the wheel lugs, and eyeballing the entire vehicle will bring everything to an equal stage of readiness. The vehicle dynamics area at the incredibly huge Ford testing facility provides the perfect playing field.
At the VDA, that's the big paved open area where you can set up any sort of test you like. We're doing slalom there, a 600-foot slalom. These cars go through at speeds around 70 miles an hour, just right at the limit of control. And then a skid pad, which is a 200-foot diameter circle that allows us to run the cars right up to the limited grip until they slide, spin out, or whatever. It's really a fun place.
What could be more fun than tossing 9 of the world's most thunderous supercars through a flat, twisty slalom?
In the slalom, since the transitions are so sharp, you want a car that stays flat, that has very linear steering response, so that you can predictably place it very close to the cones and go straight as possible without knocking over a cone.
The car which danced through the cones at the highest speed was also the car with the most horsepower in our test group, the Viper ACR. The Cobra R and Ferrari 360 Modena were also impressive, while the tail-happy Z8, Trans Am Firehawk, and Cavalli Mangusta were clearly overmatched. While not the overall slalom champ, the all-wheel drive Porsche Turbo was still a well-balanced and very quick standout.
In the slalom, I really like the 911. With all-wheel drive, you can be putting on a lot of power, even when the car's in a dynamic transition, and it's stable and very easy to place. I spent a lot of time in Vipers in the slalom, and it's a car that can bite you occasionally, but it's very direct. The steering is very accurate and crisp, and of course there's torque anytime you need it.
Over on the 200-foot skid pad, there was a symphony of lateral G's squealing from the 36 high-performance tires clawing at the asphalt.
The skid pad we do is a 200-foot diameter circle, which actually your speed is fairly low, so it tends to favor a car that has a balance where kind of a tail-happy handling balance, which you might not want in a faster corner. So cars like the Viper can work really well because they've got a lot of power to kick the rear end out just a little bit and keep the car balanced. The 911 works well. It puts power down all the way around, and it's got a dynamic control system that helps handling-wise to keep it right on track.
The winner here was the Mustang Cobra R, with a suspension package designed specifically for the racetrack. The Viper was second in total cornering grip, with the Corvette Z06 third best. For those of you keeping score, after 2 tests, it's 2 gold medals for Uncle Sam. When we come back, we'll continue our high-speed shootout with the infamous 0 to 100 to 0 acceleration and braking test, right here on MotorTrend Television.
Remember doing wind sprints for the high school football team? Well, hang on, because I'm going to show you the MotorTrend equivalent of that tough test. 0 to 100 to 0. The idea is to drag race the car as hard as you can, making perfect shifts up to 100 miles an hour. Then, when you get to that speed, you got to be razor sharp with your reflexes and perfect on the brake pedal, because you got to stop as hard as you can from 100 down to 0. And of course, the car with the shortest ET wins our 0 to 100 to 0 overall test.
Combining the all-out acceleration of a drag race and a full-effort stop from 100 miles per hour, the 0 to 100 to 0 test is designed to showcase both. It tests the low-end torque, traction, and mid-range power of each car, and whether it has the braking skills to match its go-fast talents. It's one test that also checks the ability of a car to react to a violent change in its demeanor. Full charge to full whoa! Only drivers with strong stomachs need apply. When the rubber smoke cleared, the Series 1 and the Viper were the quickest 2 cars to 100 miles per hour. However, their non-ABS brake systems resulted in longer, more difficult to control stops. That gave the Ferrari the event championship, with a best 0 to 100 to 0 time of 14.12 seconds. Followed closely by the Porsche 911 Turbo. The Viper would finish 3rd overall, with the Shelby Series 1 6th. Although not a top finisher, the car which perhaps best exemplifies bad boy American muscle proved it was no slug in this wind sprint.
You can tell by the sound, this car's got an all-American V8 underhood. Yeah, this is the SLP Firehawk, and it is all about burning rubber, power shifting, and heading down the quarter mile. This car's really got a great top-end charge. Now hang on, because here we go, we're at 100 miles an hour, we're going to be on the brakes full. A little bit of nosedive, and you get a little axle hop right at the end, but boy, for an F-body, this baby really performs.
The Corvette Z06 gets an honorable mention for awesome acceleration and race car-like braking. But even that only gave it a mid-pack score in this test, just ahead of BMW's new German hot rod that feels, well, American.
So here's a full-on acceleration run in the BMW Z8. And with a 400 horsepower V8, this feels like a mid-60s fuel-injected Corvette and then some. Here we are, we're coming up to 100 miles an hour, on the brakes full, great ABS, huge disc brakes. Wow, what a phenomenal car BMW has built.
With one test left to go, the USA was clinging to a 2-1 winning record. But the Euros were ready for some last round fighting in the 0 to 1 mile full throttle challenge. That's up next on MotorTrend Television.
Well, everyone knows that the standard of American muscle car performance is the quarter mile. Well, hang on, because I'm going to show you a MotorTrend test that's 4 times as difficult. It's the standing mile test. That's right. It's 4 times as long as the quarter mile. And here I'm driving the Ferrari like a maniac, holding the loud pedal down for 5,280 feet. This is like something you've never experienced, because you can't do this on any public highway. When you get a car like this with about 400 horsepower, this F1 system that makes you feel like Michael Schumacher, listen to the sound of this car. Unbelievable. I'm past 150 right now, and this baby is still going. I'm not even anywhere near the 1 mile. But we got 8 other hot cars to test. Which one do you think is going to be the quickest?
Well, based on our 0 to 100 to 0 test, a couple of top finishers in that exercise would have to be at least even money favorites to take the honors in the 0 to 1 mile shootout. But life is full of surprises. Remember, the Ferrari 360 Modena was numero uno in the 0 to 100 to 0 go and stop test. The Porsche was second, the Viper third, while the fast accelerating but slow braking Shelby Series 1 was a distant sixth. Well, in the 0 to 1 mile flat-out sprint race, the big dogs of this pack quickly put a bunch of distance on the rest. Once again, the Cavalli Mangusta was out-muscled by the competition for a 9th place finish. The Pontiac Firebird Firehawk SLP clobbered the Cavalli, but couldn't move any higher than 8th in the standings. And for the Mustang Cobra R, well, it repeated its 7th place showing from the 0 to 100 to 0 festivities. Clearly, this is a seriously tough competition. In fact, the Ferrari slid down to 6th place in the 0 to 1 mile sprint, roaring across the finish line with a speed of 152.47 miles per hour. The BMW Z8 repeated its 5th fastest finish from the previous acceleration skirmish, covering the 1 mile in 32.5 seconds with a speed of 152.55 miles per hour. The hot new Corvette Z06 was again 4th, breaking the 160 mile per hour mark with a trap speed of 160.73 miles per hour.
Well, any new Corvette is fun to mash the throttle on, but how about the 385 horsepower Z06? Hang on for 0 to 1 mile. off the line. You got to actually feather the throttle because you can see this baby gets a little sideways, even those big, fat rear tires. Already in third gear, there's 75, there's 80, there's 85, there's 90, there's 95, there's 100. Right into fourth gear, just about 100 miles an hour. This car with a Z06 motor is really pulling spectacularly. Fourth gear is super strong. There's 135, there's 140, there's about 140, and you're shifting to fifth gear. You still got one more to go. This car is pulling so strong. We're down here. We're making it happen. There's 150, there's 155. This car has got power and torque all the way across the RPM band and spectacular gearing. Here we are at indicated 162 in the standing mile for the Chevrolet Corvette Z06.
The Porsche 911 Turbo launched itself to a well-controlled third-place spot, racing through the 1 mile at 161.58 miles per hour. The V10 Viper muscled its way out of the blocks and down the big straight into the second spot with a blistering speed of 164.55 miles per hour. But it was Carroll Shelby who emerged the hands-down winner in the 0 to 1 mile slam down. The 450 horsepower Series 1, fitted with a prototype supercharger, clearly made this car a thunderbolt. It ripped through the test just ahead of the Viper with a 0 to 1 mile speed of 164.76 miles per hour. You'll notice that less than a second separates the 4 quickest cars. Not surprising when you consider that 3 of those 4 power hitters crank out over 400 horsepower. The Corvette's 385, compared to the 450 in the Series 1, translates into a 4 mile per hour deficit. Test data aside, several of the cars made everlasting impressions on us after working them hard in the sweltering Arizona heat.
The Z06 is a 385 horsepower version of the Corvette. It's brand new this year. A few tweaks on the standard LS1. It's got a hotter camshaft, bigger fuel injectors. The car for 2001 is making 350. This is making 385. And all those horses are there. We've had it out on the track, and it's obviously making the big ponies.
The new Z8's a really interesting departure for BMW. It's a very romantic design, retro in a way, somewhat recalling the old 507. Big aluminum V8 up front, all aluminum chassis and construction. A very interesting and all-new sports car for BMW.
Well, the Shelby we have out here today is what we call a mule, where it's been through a lot of testing, and also it's got a supercharger system, which isn't really a final production item. So it's a little rough, but the car is very powerful. It's got a really crisp steering, tremendous amount of grip. It's fun to drive, makes some wonderful noises.
So 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue after a 3-to-1 finish in our overall scoring. 9 fabulous cars, 5 domestic, 4 imported, each incredibly fast and all bearing their own unique personality and behavior patterns. But we all agree that if it were our own money being spent, the fast, fun, and relatively affordable Corvette Z06 would be our #1 choice. Don't go away. We're coming right back on MotorTrend Television.
Well, just about do it for this edition of MotorTrend Television. If you want to learn more about this USA versus the World high-speed shootout, pick up the new issue of the magazine on newsstands now. But for me, I think I need a couple more hot laps to make up my mind. Which of these 9 cars I like best. We'll see ya.
For more automotive information, log on to speedvision.com.